Hello and welcome to this GSA webinar on 5G RedCap. Over the next 30 minutes, the GSA research team will share use cases for 5G RedCap, how it compares to existing technologies, and dig into the latest data to reveal the real status of industry ecosystem adoption. The on-demand recording of this session will be shared with you immediately after the event, and you can also download the presentation at any point by hovering your mouse over the slides and clicking on the download icon. There will be time for questions following the presentation, so please do submit any questions you have as we go along using the chat function on the right-hand side. The full GSA report on 5G RedCap is available for download now from the GSA website, and we will share a direct link with you immediately following this event. But first, do a quick recap on GSA itself. Organization established back in '98 to be the voice of the mobile ecosystem. With approaching 100 members and associates, the work at GSA includes both gathering and sharing data insights, and we'll share some of that today, and industry advocacy. GSA has focused working groups, including groups on private mobile networks, 6G standardization, and the Fixed Wireless Access Forum. The forum has itself over 55 members, representing about 80% of the infrastructure, chipset, module, and CPU value chain for fixed wireless access. And then there's a spectrum group as well, which comprises a team of about 185 spectrum and regulatory affairs specialists from our executive member companies. That's subdivided into regional groupings as well as global teams that focus on areas such as spectrum bands and licensing. In parallel, GSA also publishes more than 160 reports annually based on data from our Gambod database. This unique database, which can be accessed by all employees of every GSA member and associate organization via the GSA website, contains the most up-to-date global data on 4G and 5G devices, networks, technologies, spectrum, and chipsets. GSA, the team you'll hear from today, tracks over 2,500 operators in the Gambod database, including data on over 580 public 5G networks in the process of being deployed, trialed, planned, or licensed. And if your organization is a GSA member or associate, you personally have unlimited access to all this data, and you can use it to create slides and charts and support you in your daily work. But today we are focused specifically on the industry hot topic that is 5G RedCap. So to that end, I'll hand over to Jordan Cox from the GSA research team to tell us more. Jordan.
Thank you very much, Richard, and good afternoon, everybody. I'm Jordan Cox, a member of the research team here at the GSA, and I am responsible for coordinating a number of the research projects the GSA undertakes alongside populating our online database Gambod, which Richard just alluded to. So this presentation is based on the GSA's new hot topic report, 5G RedCap, which is now available, and we'll be using data from also some of our other reports, such as 5G Standalone, LTE-M and NB-IoT, and the 5G Market Snapshot report. And these reports draw on public information collected by the GSA research team, with all data used relevant to the end of April 2024. So what will we be looking at specifically in this session? So within this presentation, we will cover a number of different areas, including diving into what 5G RedCap is, its use cases, benefits, and current status globally. We'll also be looking at the current status of LTE-M and NB-IoT, technologies seen as precursors to 5G RedCap, as well as the status of 5G Standalone, a technology that is vital to the future of 5G RedCap. So before we look at the figures, it's important to discuss just what 5G RedCap is. Initially termed as 5G New Radio Lite, 5G RedCap now stands for 5G Reduced Capability and was introduced to address application shortfalls between high-speed enhanced mobile broadband, ultra-reliable low-latency communications, and low-throughput, battery-efficient, massive machine-type communication technologies. Essentially, 5G RedCap bridges the gap between 5G capabilities. And of course, 5G RedCap also provides a number of benefits, including higher peak data rates when compared to LTE Cat 1, which makes the technology well suited to applications such as video surveillance or smart grid monitoring. And alongside this, RedCap offers lower latency and greater reliability than existing low power wide area LTE technologies like narrowband IoT, making it a superior choice for applications reliant on real-time data communication, such as industrial automation and smart grid applications. Finally, RedCap improves power consumption in a number of ways, such as requiring fewer antennas and signal receive chains, simplifying the structure and reducing power consumption. It requires narrower bandwidth support, which means 5G RedCap devices require only 20 megahertz of bandwidth compared to 100 megahertz for other 5G devices. This greatly reduces power consumption and increases battery life. Also, RedCap does not require support for carrier aggregation and operates on only one frequency band at a time. This simplification reduces power demands on supporting devices. And alongside this, RedCap also achieves reduced power consumption through supporting fewer frequency bands and operating as a 5G standalone technology, ensuring that it does not support inefficient 2G, 3G, or LTE technologies. So now looking at the use cases for 5G RedCap, which is particularly suitable for applications where ultra-low latency is not a critical requirement, but a reasonable level of performance is still necessary. Therefore, making applications such as smartwatches, wearable medical devices, and augmented and virtual reality devices perfect 5G RedCap use cases, due to having lower data rate requirements than enhanced mobile broadband uses. And other examples of 5G RedCap applications are, firstly, wireless industrial sensors, a network of which can be connected using 5G RedCap to monitor and control machinery and equipment. Secondly, video surveillance equipment, which with RedCap's strong latency performance and efficiency can transmit video from security cameras in real time. RedCap is also effective for fixed wireless access applications, offering operators a lower cost migration path to shift users from LTE spectrum onto higher capacity spectrum bands that can only be served with 5G new radio technologies. And finally, smart grids, which can use 5G RedCap to monitor and control the power grid, and smart wearables such as fitness trackers, smartwatches, and wearable medical devices, allowing for real-time tracking of health and fitness data. So now diving into our first figures around LTE-M globally, which is a lower power, wide area technology specifically designed for IoT devices. It offers improved coverage and battery life compared with traditional cellular technologies, and is widely regarded as the predecessor to 5G RedCap. And with its global deployments, comparable benefits and applications, it could play a significant role in the continued growth of 5G RedCap as we move forward. And as of the end of April 2024, the GSA has identified 61 operators in 39 countries that have launched LTE-M technology, examples of which include Spark in New Zealand, Telia in Norway, NTT Docomo in Japan, and Movistar in Colombia. And additionally, a further 12 operators in 10 countries are either deploying or testing LTE-M technology, such as MTN in South Africa and Far East One in Taiwan, indicating continued growth into the near future at least. However, as the migration to 5G technologies continues and RedCap grows, we would expect to see technologies such as LTE-M slow further in their development. And of course, for the continued investment in 5G RedCap, the market and appetite for IoT technologies needs to be clear. NB-IoT, or narrowband IoT, which is tailored for low power, wide area network applications, similar to LTE-M as just discussed, prioritizes minimal data rates and maximizing battery life. Although it is worth noting that whilst NB-IoT does effectively serve the needs of basic IoT sensors and trackers, it falls short for applications needing higher throughput or lower latency, hence where 5G RedCap comes in. And as of the end of April 2024, the GSA has tracked 133 operators in 67 countries that have deployed or launched NB-IoT technology. Examples of operators that have launched NB-IoT include the likes of Vodafone across numerous markets such as Germany, Czechia, India, Spain, and Turkey, Free in Hong Kong, Reliance in India, and SK Telecom in South Korea. An additional 33 operators in 31 countries are currently testing or planning deployments, which may indicate rapid growth in the near future and an increasing demand for IoT technologies. Examples of operators currently testing or planning include Orange in France, KDDI in Japan, and Virgin Media O2 in the UK, all of which are very large markets for IoT applications. So this widespread adoption of NB-IoT indicates that as 5G applications continue to grow and LTE technologies see their capabilities decrease with applications demanding greater throughput or lower latency, 5G RedCap could see growth in the countries and operators that have adopted its predecessor technologies, such as LTE-M and NB-IoT. Now we'll investigate 5G Standalone, which is vital to the future growth of 5G RedCap. This is due to the fact that if operators want to deploy 5G RedCap, they first must switch on a 5G core network and have a 5G Standalone network. So as a brief overview, 5G Standalone is a fully upgraded 5G network that operates independently from LTE technology and is based exclusively on cloud-native 5G core and 5G radio architecture. And as you'll see from the chart, promisingly, 5G Standalone has seen an increasing level of adoption alongside non-standalone 5G technology, albeit at a much slower pace. This ongoing expansion of 5G Standalone worldwide provides a guide to RedCap readiness. And as of the end of April 2024, the GSA had identified 126 operators in 58 countries investing in 5G Standalone. And of these, 55 operators in 31 countries have launched, a clear sign that 5G Standalone is now very much widespread, positioning RedCap in a promising state as we move into the medium to long term. And examples of operators that have launched 5G Standalone include T-Mobile in the United States, Orange in Spain, Vodafone in the UK, and TIM in Brazil, all of which are major 5G markets with potential for the introduction of RedCap into their networks as we move into the future. And when we look at the short to medium term for 5G Standalone, the picture looks promising. The GSA has identified 43 operators in 30 countries that are either planning or are currently deploying 5G Standalone into their networks. Again, this is a very encouraging sign for 5G RedCap moving forward. And now looking more closely at 5G RedCap itself. As of the end of April 2024, the GSA has identified 17 operators in 13 countries that are currently investing in RedCap technology, indicating that RedCap is still very much in its nascent stage. And when we look even closer at the status of these investments, it further underscores that 5G RedCap is still at an early stage of its development. And according to GSA data, only 4 operators have so far launched RedCap, these operators being STC in Kuwait and the 3 major Chinese operators, China Unicom, China Mobile, and China Telecom. Currently, the majority of investments are in the evaluating and testing stage, with 10 operators in as many countries testing RedCap technology. These being Telstra in Australia, STC in Bahrain, and Telefonica in Germany, as just a few examples. Other countries such as Singapore, the United Arab Emirates, the UK, US, Saudi Arabia, and Thailand are also seeing trials. And for RedCap, it is not just the operators encouraging investment in the technology. RedCap equipment vendors are, of course, forging partnerships to boost its uptake globally and are striving to capture the market as deployments and trials ramp up in the coming months and years. Nokia, Ericsson, Huawei, and other vendors have all partnered with major operators globally, such as BT or EE in the UK, Verizon in the United States, STC in Bahrain and Saudi Arabia, and Turkcell in Turkey. In at least the medium to long term, the GSA expects to see increased investment and launches of 5G RedCap networks, with some launches potentially taking place during the course of 2024. And looking at the RedCap data more closely, and particularly regionally, a few pictures are already being painted. Firstly, the Middle East appears to be a focal point for current 5G RedCap investments, currently holding a 41% share of the total global investments in the technology. The trend toward the Middle East may be attributed to the region's rapid adoption of Industry 4.0 practices, with machinery-intensive industries such as oil and gas being very prominent in the region. And these machines will need an effective means of tracking and maintaining, and the perceived advantages of lower costs and simplified implementation offered by RedCap may also be another driver within the Middle East. Operators such as STC in Bahrain, Kuwait and Saudi Arabia, and DU in the United Arab Emirates are investing in RedCap across the Middle East. And alongside the Middle East, Asia Pacific is seeing rapid adoption of 5G RedCap technology, with a 35% share of total global investments currently. The region also has 3 launches, with the 3 major operators in China, China Unicom, China Telecom, and China Mobile all having launched, as mentioned previously. Western Europe follows the Asia Pacific region with 12% of the total investments, a much lower share, but still significant, with operators such as BT in the UK and Telefonica Germany, both currently in the testing stage. And then finally, North America and Oceania hold a 6% share each, with the operators Telstra in Australia and Verizon in the United States, both also in the testing stage for 5G RedCap. So finally, when we look at the current 5G RedCap device and chipset ecosystem, and much in the same vein as the development of RedCap networks, supporting devices and chipsets are still very much in the early stages of development. As of the end of April 2024, the GSA had identified 2 chipsets with 5G RedCap capabilities, these being Qualcomm's Snapdragon X35 modem RF system and MediaTek's T300 series. And when we look at devices with RedCap capabilities, the GSA has so far identified less than 20 devices, such as MyG's 5G RedCap module, SRM813Q, and their 5G CPU solution, SRT835, both of which you can see on the screen now. Other vendors have also released RedCap capable devices, such as Vibocom with their FM330 series, Quectel with the RG255C, and TCL with the LinkKey IK511. A complete list of the RedCap compatible devices is shown in the new GSA 5G RedCap report. So that brings me to the end of the presentation on 5G RedCap, and I'll hand over to Ian or Richard for the Q&A session. Thank you very much.
I'm not sure if Ian can rejoin us, but we can. I can kick off the questions while Ian works out his connection. So, John, just going through some of the initial questions that we're seeing coming in. Does GSA provide a list of devices supporting different applications in RedCap? So I guess sort of following on from that last slide you had there.
Yeah, so that's provided in the 5G RedCap report. That's all available in there. So if they wanted to download that, they would be able to see that.
I've got a question about RedCap modems and whether they work with satellite systems where we see NB-IoT being used.
So for that question, to be honest, I'll probably need to come back after the session finishes. I'll be able to respond to that a little bit more in a little bit more detail if possible. That would be so. Yeah, I can follow up after that as well. Sorry, Rich. I'm just seeing a question that's come through that I was hoping to answer, if that's okay. So the question is, how does RedCap help with the transition from 4G LTE, particularly in fixed wireless access? So RedCap lowers the cost of 5G devices, significantly to a similar level to 4G, and yet it also allows operators to use 5G spectrum that is lightly loaded to serve fixed wireless access customers, rather than needing to use 4G spectrum that is needed to support 4G smartphone users. So that's how that can help that transition from there. So yeah, apologies for that, Richard. I just wanted to answer that question, if that's okay.
By all means, if there are any ones that you see in the list, then dive in. I guess someone just needs a little bit of reassurance. Don't quite believe this. Can you confirm again, please, that there are some RedCap deployments already? I thought there were none until 2025.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So currently, the three as I mentioned in the webinar, the three major operators in China, China Mobile, China Telecom, and China Unicom, have all launched RedCap services. Alongside this, STC in Kuwait have also launched. So there are launches taking place, not quite in 2025, but they are definitely starting to pick up momentum. I assume 2025 will be a big year for RedCap launches moving forward, though. So hopefully that answers that question. I have seen another question on why are RedCap devices cheaper than other 5G devices, which is obviously a really good question. I think it really emphasizes what RedCap's all about. So I'll narrow it down to a couple of main reasons. RedCap targeted chipsets are cheaper than many 5G ones. So obviously that's a big reason why the RedCap devices are cheaper. And that's because they need ultimately less processing power. And also due to the fact that the antenna and radio front end is simpler than most mid and high-end 5G devices. Again, this further reduces the overall cost of the device. So they're big reasons why RedCap devices are a lot cheaper than other 5G devices. I'm just seeing if there's any other questions.
A question here about the numbers. Do we have any data on how many operators have turned on NB-IoT and or LTE-M in their 5G networks? Is that something we're tracking?
Yeah, we do have that data. So I've used a few examples of it in this webinar here, but we do also have the LTE-M and NB-IoT report, or I can provide that data separately after the end of the webinar as well.
And a question here about fixed wireless access. I guess generally, if you could say a little bit more on sort of, I guess, use cases for 5G RedCap fixed wireless access, and a question specifically about whether RedCap works on millimeter wave for fixed wireless access. Again,
I may need to come back to that one after the end of the webinar, if possible. That's it. To give you a bit more of an overview of that, if that's okay, be able to follow up with that.
And I guess maybe we have this one, maybe take this as the last question, and looking at standalone and non-standalone. The question is, standalone deployment is relatively slow compared to non-standalone. Do you think RedCap deployment and adoption will be affected because of this? And what's the forecast of RedCap becoming widespread? So I guess the relationship between the state of standalone and how that impacts RedCap.
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, obviously, 5G non-standalone, as you say, is seen a lot faster uptake than 5G standalone, but we are seeing that 5G standalone activity is definitely picking up over the course of 2023 and moving into 2024. And as I mentioned in the webinar, RedCap very much relies on 5G standalone deployments. So what we're seeing in our data is many planned 5G standalone deployments are expected over the coming years, particularly 2024, 2025, and RedCap is very much reliant on that. So if 5G standalone uptake is, increasing, I would expect to see RedCap following suit, particularly over the next couple of years. But it will very much rely on 5G standalone investment continuing to increase moving forward. So yeah.
Awesome, thank you very much. So we've had quite a few questions coming on the device costs and the economics, and it sort of addressed that one already. I guess one last question, which maybe is nothing we can, not sure we have any data on this or not. Do you see faster 5G new radio RedCap growth in private networks where there may be no 4G LTE network, or in public networks where 4G LTE remains lower cost? I guess how we're seeing that in private networks. Do we have anything there?
We don't really cover anything on RedCap in private networks, but in particular for public networks, where RedCap is really beneficial, it bridges the gap between a lot of the 5G capabilities. A lot of the time, especially for IoT applications, many 5G technologies, although they do offer what IoT applications need in terms of latency, in terms of bandwidth, in terms of reliability, they also potentially offer too much, and they can potentially be a bit too expensive, too costly, particularly on the CapEx side for IoT applications. And that's where 5G RedCap really holds its value. It allows those capabilities for IoT applications to be met for a much lower cost. So in particular for public networks, that's where RedCap really holds its value. And that's probably where we'll see the growth of the technology moving forward.
Awesome, thank you very much. I think we've covered off most of them in some shape or form. If we haven't got to your question, we'll be going through these questions in sort of individually offline. So if there's anything we haven't answered or we've not been able to come back with any details on now, we will be doing our best to answer those in the coming days with as much information as we can. With that, I'll say, Jordan, thank you very much. And I'll bring today's webinar to a close by again sort of thanking Jordan and you all for joining us today. After this event, you will receive a link to the webinar recording and to the full 5G RedCap report, which is now live on the GSA website. Throughout the year, we will have more events, including more sort of 30-minute snapshot webinars looking at particular technologies and markets that GSA is tracking in the Gambod database. Next event will be the plenary of the Fixed Wireless Access Forum, and that'll be on Wednesday, 19th of June. And there we look at the status of fixed wireless access globally and share deployment best practices from operators, regulators, and vendors from right across the fixed wireless access ecosystem. Access to the detailed data, much of which Jordan sort of talked through today, that lies behind these reports and webinars, is available, as mentioned, to all employees of GSA member and associate organizations via the GSA website. So if you would like more information about how your organization can get involved in GSA and access all these different databases, then please do get in touch via info@gsacom.com. For the latest on all GSA research, activities and events, obviously you can follow us on our usual social channels, and on the website you'll be able to sign up to the weekly digest that shares latest reports and also to the new GSA monthly newsletter. So finally, on behalf of GSA team, I'll just say thank you again for joining us, and we hope to see you again soon at the next event. Many thanks.